This isn't really an interview. It's a space where we let go what we think we know so we can find out what is real. My name is Timao. I'm the founder and visionary behind Sisterhood Sorcery and everything that involves. And in this episode, I'm talking with the beautiful Sasha. And the way I came across Sasha's work is she was guiding a meditation in a women's container program I was doing at the time around sexuality and sensuality. And I remember that episode or that class, and I could feel the ancestry behind her. And she could open the gateway to this lineage, what she was holding. And I got to feel what it's like to be in that space and in that energy. And it had a really deep impact on me. Not really here, it was more like a felt sense of a belonging, something I have forgotten. And yeah, when I was thinking about who to invite, you really came to my mind, and you're still doing a lot of work around somatics, and you said you specialize around decolonization. And growing up in Mexico as a woman, as a young woman, and you said that you have a Mayan father as well. So you are connected to the old traditions, and you're connected to the newer ways of being. So I would love to hear about, to start off, how was it to grow up in that society, in that place, with the culture, and especially you being as a different child, somebody who's breaking all the chains and all the conditioning. How did you experience growing up, and what's your relationship to them right now?
Thank you so much, first of all, for the invitation. Yes, so that is a very alive issue right now because one thing that, so, to start with my own ancestry and how it relates to how we all are living at this point, because it's a very common thread. Um, my father was Mayan, from Chiapas. My mother came from a very mixed lineage. Like she's Mexican. She was born in Mexico, but she came from a Lebanese grandfather, and also European people at some point. Apparently Italian, and of course Mexican. So it's like this huge mix. I am part of this blend, which is Mexico. Mexico is a huge blend of cultures and migrants and people from all over the world. Like Mexico doesn't have just one face; it has so many faces. The faces of the indigenous people in the sierra, in the mountain, in the desert, in the coast, in the jungle. They are so different. There's more than 64 indigenous groups in Mexico, and each one of them has their own very different way of existing, and it's evident. Like you see a Mayan from here in the south where I live, in Yucatan, and it's so different from a person from the center of Mexico, from the Nahua people. So it's
What are the differences? What would you say? Maybe.
oh, so
Mm.
for example, here the Mayans of Yucatan, because there's the Mayans like my father from Chiapas. The Mayans of Yucatan are softer. Like they are very soft people. They are soft in the way in which they speak. They are soft and no, because they are also very fiery but it's a very different kind of fiery. Even the way that they look, like they are a little bit shorter. Like they it's like this very specific physiognomy that they have, that it's so cute. It's their very own. And then the people from the center of Mexico, the Nahuas, like they are warrior people. They are people that at some point they had the whole continent under the rule. So they are people that are proud, like, and you see that in the way that they walk. Like the indigenous people of the center of Mexico, they are very like they have this kind of very very straight kind of walking. Like there's this pride to them. The people from Oaxaca, for example, they are like elongated. They are very elegant. Like there is this different. You see that like this actress that show up in the movie Roma. She's from Oaxaca, and you can see her beautiful, like elongated posture. Their beautiful long black hair. Like they are so beautifully different. They don't always get along, like, but we are all Mexicans, right? And then you add the mix of the people from European descent,
Mm.
and that is the other part, the different ways in which they all perceive the world. How people that are born in the center of cities, Mexico City, Guadalajara, like cities that are bigger, more urban, have more internalized whiteness. Like they are identifying more with white people, even when they might in another countries be seen as Mexicans. Here they identify more as the behavior, the attitudes of white people.
Mm.
And so we have these different faces of Mexicans. And in a case that has been very evident, like the very indigenous part, even though my father was a person that eventually became a very powerful politician, the thing is they are all different. They have different beliefs, different approaches. I was just sharing some minutes ago, like in my case it's interesting because I have the passionate politics of my father. Like I am very passionate about justice and about defeating systems of oppression and about seeing like the big picture. Like thank you for my autism that allows me to see patterns, and for my father's view of the world that allows me to see like things that he would name before because he was very close to that power. But that's very different from the way in which my own mother, for example, sees the world. Like she still believes in these systems that she grew up with. She still believes in them. um and I am very passionate against them. And I feel like that's something that so many people are dealing with right now. The difference in beliefs inside a family. The oh my god, I love my family, but they are so conservative and I cannot even have a conversation in the table about what's happening in the world without us clashing. Um, and they cannot really hear my opinions because like their worldview is so set on stone. So that happens a lot here and everywhere right now. I feel like these are very radicalized times in which we see that separation happening constantly, and that turns our hearts in pieces because it's very hard to see the people that you love and to find that things that should be common ground are not common ground anymore. Like our beliefs about what justice should look like. So that has been a very delicate issue, not just for me, but I see that for many families around the world. Like this separation is weighing heavily in many people's hearts.
Mm. Yeah, beautifully explained. I love that you point out this separation because I can feel that in my own life how me going back to my family. Oh, it was the most interesting experience because I I had to exist with people for a short period of time who are living in a totally different world, and I had to find that place in myself to allow them to be in that, and and allow myself to be in mine, and we can just coexist like that without having to bother each other, having to argue. But it takes a lot of respect for each other, and a lot of self-control as well. And it can be very easily just tipped over and just done into a disaster.
Exactly, exactly. That's the thing. Because I really believe that love should prevail. Like, we shouldn't be trying to change one another's perspectives, right? Like, I love my family dearly, even when they are conservatives. Like, I adore them. Uh, and at the same time, my beliefs are a very important part of who I am, right? My beliefs in justice and in human rights are very important to me, but also is my family. So having this peace can be so easily tipped uh, just by stress, by external circumstances, by things happening, tiredness. Like that, it's easy to all of a sudden find that we are sleeping and just particularly intolerant. Um, which is also okay because we cannot always be tolerant to intolerance. That is an important thing to also see. Tolerance to intolerance is difficult. Uh, it's not usually working. But we need to go back to humanizing one another, and that's also a difficult part when stress is high with everything going on in the world. At the end of the day, I feel like an important part is nuance. That's a piece that has been deeply forgotten everywhere. The capacity to see and to understand nuance. Um, and nuance means that two things can be true at the same time. That we can love the people that we have blood bonds with, and we can also not agree with their worldview, and that is or that we can believe certain things but understand that at the end of the my father used to have this saying that in the jungle there are these trees that are apparently very separated from one another, very 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 much apart, but their roots are touching and the tops of the tree are touching. So when you see these trees, you think these 2 points are radically different. They are two individual trees. But when you go deeper, you realize that actually they are interconnected and interdependent and interwoven, and that also their highest branches are interwoven. And for him, that represented the difference of ideologies. He said people have different ideologies, political ideologies, because he was a politician. So he was like, people have different political ideologies, but the people in the ground, like, these are the ideologies, but the people in the ground, they are one people. And the people on top, they are interconnected. Like, they make their businesses and their deals, they are interconnected. So we are just one people with these different ideas.
I love what you said about nuance. We can be
Yeah.
so like pinpointed into just seeing one side of reality, and we can really fight to maintain that. And it's really important to just stay open and just
Yeah.
allow a person to be complex. Like, don't label people as bipolar. I hate that when people, for example, say that, because that just means you have a two very different aspects of reality happening to you at the same time, like different parts of you. And we have so many different parts of us anyway. We are not one person or one character. There's so much what we are, and we need to see that in other people as well. So my question would be, what do you think gives people the ability to see this nuance?
Um, for me, it's compassion. And that is a very important piece that I think we all should benefit from remembering, because originally humanity is compassionate. But um, compassion allows us to see and respect nuance. Like compassionate and love can be fierce protectors. We can be fierce protectors of life, of our beliefs, on the belief that rightness and goodness and justice should prevail, that people should have rights. Like we have to be fiercely loving. I really believe that love is fierce. Like it protects. Like a mama bear protects her cubs. Like we need to be fierce in love and also compassionate, because many times most people are actually good, and that's a hill I'm willing to die on. People are actually good. It's just that they have been brainwashed into hatred, brainwashed into into survival, because that's a survival mechanism. That's the fear for of the other person, the fear of people that look differently from us. That's a survival mechanism. They have been brainwashed into believing that it can only be one way and the rest of the people are not, are a threat somehow. um and I really believe that people naturally are compassionate and good, and that once we stop this brainwash of hatred and fear towards those that look different, we get to reclaim that humanity, that goodness. So for me, nuance is this remembrance. That person that is saying things that I disagree with has also parts that are lovable, and it's been moved by fear, and it's been moved by people that made them believe that they had to hold on to antiquated and old-fashioned beliefs that no longer make sense. Like all the isms, like the racism, ableism, classism, like they no longer make sense in the great scheme of the world. We are one world, one united world. We need to start seeing that what happens in one place affects somebody on the other side of the planet. Um, but people are holding on to those isms from this place of fear, because that's what they know, the only thing they know. So understanding that, seeing them as humans that are moved by fear mostly, because of course there are different levels of hatred out there, and I am speaking about moderate people. I am speaking about people that are just a little bit blinded. I'm not speaking about radically hateful people. Like those are their own. That's the nuance. The nuance is I get to see the humanity in the conservative person across me on the table that has loved me forever, and that is just a little bit blinded to the world, but it's not a bad person. But I am not saying that the person that actively does hate crimes is just
Yeah, yeah.
oh, just see the good in them. Like that's the nuance there.
I totally agree, and you explained it well. And from my own experience, being traumatized, or having a hard child life, um it can really get us out of compassion. Like, for a long time I was just numb. I couldn't feel anything, let alone compassion. And it took a long time for that compassion to come back, so I can feel that for another human being, because I started actually hating humans. And then, because I was still in my pain, I couldn't see it like that. I didn't actively hate them, but I didn't want anything to do with them. But I couldn't just be okay either in their presence. And to be able to be okay in their presence, it's a huge, huge work to step out of that and just being able to see the person who caused you so much harm as a human being, as you said very nicely. I think seeing the other as a human being is it's almost like, for me, it's just unfolding into, I can see that in my child as well. Like seeing my kid as a human being instead of a kid makes all the difference. So how, I'm curious about how in your own life did you always maintain that ability to feel the compassion, or did you come out of it? And if you did come out of it, how did you get back in there?
So, first of all, no. No, so I sometimes I specifically when you see high levels of cruelty happening in the world, like I just really want to emphasize when I speak about compassion, I am not I want to yeah, I want to emphasize that that I don't believe that it's easy or that it's should be given to just everyone. That there's some cases of where people just really don't deserve that level of compassion, where we are not that magnanimous to go on protecting and healing and loving everyone even when they have been abusers or where they have been terrible to us or to others. Like that there's also the fact that uh there's that it's so complex, and it brings me back to that, to the complexity of people, that there's so many faces, so many different people. I promote compassion to those that are open to it. I had a teacher, let me use his words because I think that they make more sense to me than mine. He used to say, give people what they want. When they want love, give them love. When they want tenderness, give them tenderness. And when they want nothing, give them nothing. And for me, it applies in the sense that some people are working very hard in getting zero compassion. Like they don't give compassion, they are not kind, they don't offer compassion. So it's very hard to have that compassion towards them. And it's not my duty to do that, right? Like if that's where the fierce mama bear shows up and says, no. Like you deal with your stuff. I am not God Almighty to come and grant forgiveness and compassion for everyone. Like that's where it gets complex, right? And that may apply to family as well, because some family has been actively abusive. And I don't believe that we should be um, just forgiving everyone. Like, if you have gone through abuse and that abuse has branded you, like, you don't owe your forgiveness or your compassion to anyone. That you owe it to yourself first. You owe yourself to be, to heal, to process your pain, to process your own wounds in the way that makes sense to your body, in the way that makes sense to your healing, to your journey. Um, for me, this compassion is something that I extend to people that are also offering love in other moments, in other ways, like going back to my mother, for example. Like, that's the specific example I'm thinking of. She's very conservative, but she's also a very kind person that supports everyone that she can, that she doesn't have my point of view, but still she's a kind person, that has taught me kindness in action, in not in her mind but in action. She has supported people all through her life. So it would be cruel of me to just judge her based on a political view that is in her mind, when her actions have always been compassionate toward others. So I haven't seen her actively causing harm. I have seen her actively helping people. So therefore, I can offer her compassion. Most of the time. Sometimes I get angry at her, but then I go back to compassion. Like, Mom! But then I love her again.
They know. It's totally normal to be angry. So many of us hide that.
Yeah,
A woman can be angry and that's perfectly healthy and it's perfectly fine.
yeah.
It's not a medical, she's not crazy.
And
It's
that's something
women.
that I see a lot with people in the USA. Many of the people that are Republicans specifically right now, Republicans are people that I have known before to be kind, to be supportive, to be people that are generous. There's even a study around that, like how people in isolation can be very good people, very generous, caring for their neighbor, caring for the people in front of them. But in mass, they are less to move in another way, to believe in things that are harmful. And that's a whole sociological study that it's so complex about the complex nature of humanity. So I feel like the way for the whole world to heal this gap, because what I see right now happening is a gap. It's a huge gap uh, between two forces that have always been fighting one another, the forces of change and the forces of stillness, of conservatives, like conservatives and rebels, change and stillness. That has been a force that constantly has been facing one another in the universe. In Tantra, we learn that as the forces of expansion and contraction, right? We have the natural force of expansion versus the natural force of contraction, and they are constantly clashing one another. So what we're seeing right now in the world is a gap that feels so difficult to navigate because we are feeling that we're fighting the one side versus the other, but in reality this gap is just two natural forces that are always clashing one another, and at some point they are going to connect again, and then we're going to separate again, and we're going to connect again, and we're going to separate again.
I love this. But
Yeah,
I think the trick is to learn not to crash or clash. We can just work together. We can work together. Like the birds, how the birds fly. They fly together. They don't crash into each other all the time. And then we can reach the harmony and then we can create. And I also see what you said, the two forces are the masculinity and the
yeah,
femininity, dark and the light, the polarity. That's the dance we need to master to just resolve our issues. Um, yeah, it's an interesting journey. It's a very interesting
yeah.
journey in our own lives, and then you can see it play out in the collective as well.
Yeah, and for me, that is that reminder of my father's wisdom. Like at the end of the day, these two forces are interwoven. Like we need one another. It's just that we are believing that we are so distant from one another, but we are that's just the forces. I would say that it's more like a dance. Like these two forces dance constantly, like the bird flock that you just described.
Mm, yes. And I also feel like there is a surge of masculine, like real masculinity at the moment. And I can see the shift in my own life. Like growing up with a weak father, I never had that masculine container, the healthy masculine container. It got really confused. And that's why I was attracting not the right kind of men, always the weak men, because I didn't have that structure in myself to hold myself. So I was always being taken advantage of. So having that masculine container, one side of the force, and then have the soft femininity in the inside, and then a hard-ish masculine container on the outside. It can't be super hard because it has to be obviously fluid and be able to expand, but learning the opposite, or learning almost like your polarity or my polarity or our polarity, our shadows, um it's the road to self-mastery.
Okay.
It's not tiny, it's small, it's huge. It's something you just carry on learning and learning every day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such an important piece. We are still learning. We are still works in action. We are still developing, doing the work. Um, in the mysteries, I consider myself a priestess. I've been a priestess since I was 12. In the mysteries, there is this idea of two pillars. Like there is the pillar of mercy, the pillar of justice, and how these two pillars are interwoven, how they are in reality just constantly interconnecting one another. Severity that we are describing are so universal that even they are described as, I would say that even beyond masculine or feminine, I would describe them as just this yin and yang, these opposites, expansion and contraction energies. Um, because I feel like it's important to avoid uh, uh, giving a gender to these forces, because at the end of the day we both carry this, and we carry these two flavors inside of us, like all of them. Like we carry these energies, we carry this contraction and expansion, and with this black and white interwoven dance inside of us as well.
What were you learning as a priestess? Who were you becoming as a priestess? Who is a priestess? Because there's so many
Thank,
random ideas people have about priestess, and nobody actually knows what it is. So I would love to hear it.
thank you. So, um, from the way in which I was taught priesthood, um, was as a devotional dedication to something higher, to a higher force. Uh, it was a way of it is a way of living in service. Like we see that with a Catholic priest, right? Like it's not about the power, but it's supposed to be, like at least it's supposed to be about being in service of being somebody that works for, that is a representative of a force greater than us, but therefore has um a very deep responsibility and commitment towards this force. Like we are pretty much servants of this force. We serve the divine, we serve the sacred, we serve a higher cause than us, than our ego, than our, oh, I am a priestess of this. No, 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 no. That means you are here to serve this this energy, this higher than though reality or consciousness. Um, that for me was my one dream and goal and dedication since I was 12, and I started training in the under this teacher and eventually in this sanctuary. Um, it was a place run by women of color, so it was a very community based space. It was about serving one another, supporting one another, waking up to see how the other person had everything they needed. Like it was actually hard work every day that didn't seem spiritual. For many hours of the day, many hours of the day were dedicated to actually making many daily tasks sacred. Cooking was sacred, cleaning was sacred, caring for the other person when they were sick, that was sacred. Um, because at the end of the day, it is bringing the crown of heaven to earth. It is making the material world sacred. And the idea is that that happens with small acts that we repeat consistently every day. It's not in the big ceremonies that they happen as well. It's not in the big meditations of 3 hours that they would happen as well, or it wasn't in the chants or in the robes and the talismans that they existed too, but it was in everyday crowning heaven into earth, making life sacred with small acts of service and compassion to one another, to the people that needed it the most, without asking for anything in return other than loving, um, dedication. And for me, that became actually the way in which I live my life, my work, working as working for the people that I work, and constantly reminding myself that this is a dedication. Every person that I work with, I am dedicating. It is in every day dedicating my work to the goddess. Like, I am doing this because I want to build a better world, for because I want to crown the earth. I want to bring this sacredness. I want to bring this holiness, um, through, I call it in very early ways, like being Bluetooth speakers of the heart of the goddess, like playing her song through our own hearts, playing her love, and loving others through our own hearts, uh, so that we expand this wave and it becomes an overwhelming new song that actually changed the tune, and it becomes a loving tune. It becomes a tune that actually change the way in which we are live. Bluetooth speaker, we just need to connect to the right frequency, and that is priesthood. That is working with the mysteries for me.
The little things in every day and making the little things sacred. For a long time, I only focused on like nothing big happened in my life, and anything what happened, it had to be huge to make create a meaning, or like make it important enough so I could feel it, right? And I think I naturally had to desensitize my not desensitize resensitize myself so I can feel it. um yeah, so it took me a long time and a lot of effort to be able to feel that for the little things. And and now that I'm feeling into the little things, it just expanded my life in a much bigger way than any old random big things I could do, because it creates that consistency which I can then stand on. Um yeah, but it's hard work, and I think it's really hard work. You have to be really honest with yourself, right? And I think for some of us, we are kind of chosen for this path, others are not. And almost like we don't have a choice. If we resist that thing, what is making us do it, life just gets impossible, like impossible. And but then there's a lot of people who pretend or think they serving a higher purpose, right? But they not. And that can cause a lot of damage to people, because they go to them opened up, taking in everything what they thought they need to, and they were just getting completely abused. So how, yeah, big things. These are huge things. And how would you say you stay true to yourself? How do you make sure you don't get corrupted?
That's such an important conversation because, for starters, spirituality is one of the places that is maybe the most, and not just now, it has always been one of the most, minefields in the world. It's so easy to all of a sudden step into a huge spiritual ego, and the spiritual ego is one of the worst because it's people that they really believe that they are entitled to the worst things. Like, and I am going to take this chance to actively call out somebody that for a long time was a big leader, like Deepak Chopra, right? Like, he was this spiritual teacher that so many people actually venerated, that actually was using all this power and all this money to do the things that they do in the files in the Epstein Island. So, um, how many people like him there are, right? Like, that use this little power and admiration that spirituality gives them to get many women. Maybe not as badly as Deepak Chopra. Maybe they are not getting underage girls in an island, but they are getting many girls that and seducing them, many women, and seducing them with their promises of healing and power. Like that, spirituality is one of the places where most abuse has happened in the world. Like the many ashrams, many teachers, many authors have used that trust that people give them. That happens. A lot of abuse happens because people that approach spirituality do it because we have been hurt, because we are trying to make sense of the world, because we have been wounded, we are in pain, and we're trying to make sense of a world that doesn't seem to have sense, that doesn't seem to make sense, and we don't feel like we have any power over it. One of my favorite teachers, Dolores Chronowiki, actually mentioned in her book about magic that people embrace spirituality and magic because they don't feel like they have any control in the world, and we're looking to have some sense of control, some sense of agency in a world where we don't really feel like we have any agency. So it's very easy that people that are looking for this sense of understanding of a world that doesn't seem to make sense, to all of a sudden turn to people that seem to have figured things out, like this author and teachers. And it's very easy that these people abuse this power, that these people use this power to sleep with students, to coerce their beliefs and make them work for them. And, it's one of the places where more abuse takes place. So for me, I've been in this world of spirituality for now 35 years. And I have seen many of these people, many of these teachers, many of these abusers, many of these egos. Uh, and it might seem as radical as a Deepak Chopra or as innocent as somebody just walking around believing that they have the monopoly of truth and nobody else knows anything, right? And that is way too common. The one thing that we need to remember is, first of all, we are here to work as humbly as possible for for the greatest good, for other people, for we are in service. Like, we are never the ones the chosen. No, we are in service. The highest level of spirituality is actually being just in service, just in love. One of my favorite stories about Kuan Yin, the goddess of mercy, um, was that when she was just about to cross to nirvana, she said, "No, I am going to wait until all creatures are enlightened, and then I will pass." And for me, that is the highest level of service, and this selfishness of being in service of love, of humanity, of the sacred. Um, it's important to keep that. I am in service. Like, I am just tool of for a greatest cause. I am just here to listen. Like, just a reality check of this ego, because yeah, spirituality is a minefield, and we can very easily get lost in it.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, yeah. That brings me back to some memories. And it's almost I can explain it or see it in a way for people who don't really maybe don't know what we're talking about, because some people won't know what we're talking about. It's like there's a whole different reality if you tune into it, and which you mentioned as like the spiritual field. And it's like there is information communication, almost like a war going on all the time. And and I think in today's society, then that gets really labeled as insane or not real, We're just making stuff up, but you're not. You're just perceiving something they are not, but that doesn't make it not real.
Yeah.
And having that awareness back online, almost, I can call it online, and being finding people you can interact there with is interesting. And then, finally in my life I was like, finally I found somebody who I can interact there with, and I felt really fulfilled because of it, because I felt so lonely before, because I couldn't really talk to people on my level or frequency.
Yeah.
Not any it's worse or less, it's just I couldn't. And when I did start to find people like that, I was like, oh, okay. And then I just gave myself completely over because I just liked the feeling of it. And and yeah, not being yeah, so coming out of it and finding myself again after such an experience has been really interesting, and it taught me a lot. Um but definitely you have to be careful for anybody with that amount of power, because it is a lot of power, and and if you're unaware, you have no idea how much they actually controlling you unconsciously. But I also think, to turn it around, that they don't actually know that they're causing any trouble, and this is why, going back to everybody and tying back to the very beginning of the episode, you said that everybody is good. You believe that most people are good in their core, and they can be doing terrible things, and they can be horrible in certain ways, but they're not aware of it. They think they're doing the right thing, and that's when the compassion comes back, that even those people are human beings, and power just magnifies who you are. So it magnifies the good things, and it will magnify bad things. So
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Like again, nuance, right? Like that's exactly nuance. That's that understanding that at the end of the day, humanity is complex with so many faces, with so many shades. Some of them we might be more comfortable connecting with, and some of them we don't want to ever get to see because they can be really, really dark. Um, and we get to see these shades and to also recognize that some of them are some of them are never going to be redeemed, but it's not our job to try to redeem them. It's not our job to be the ones that redeem the whole different facets of humanity. Uh, but it is our job to make our communities, our spaces a little bit better. Like so I cannot change what these horrible people that used to do terrible things on the other side of the world. I cannot affect them. I don't have an effect on them. Gladly they are out of my field. Like I have the pleasure of never having to interact with them. So so be it. Like please help me God. But the people that I
I love
have
that.
in my life but the people that I have in my life, directly or indirectly, I have an impact on. We have an impact on. We have like this ripple effect on the people around us, and that is the community that we need to serve, that we need to support, that we need to love, and to make sure that we leave these seeds of love, so that we are these Bluetooth speakers of the right frequency, of a frequency of love. That is all that we can do. Like create a better community around us, love them, uh, leave a little bit of this um, contraction and expansion in this space, recognize when we are mistaken and grow because we are also works in progress, and just keep evolving with them. Make the decision to make our communities safe spaces where we get to grow together.
Mm. Yes, beautiful, beautiful. And I think when you fixate on the big things or the things what are really bad, like, what president's doing and God knows what, you're just wasting your time because it's just, fighting something like that is just doing the opposite of making it go away. It just strengthens it, and it just gives you an excuse of not doing anything because you're like, I'm thinking about it and obsessing about it. I get angry about it, and I'm useful. Well, why don't you do something if you're gonna be useful? Like look right back down at
But
yourself, and well, yeah,
but
do
that
you think
that's
so?
an important distinction. We get to see that and to be angry. That's also important. We get to see that and be angry, uh, because that anger radicalizes us as well. And that radicalization is an important piece of change because it is a reflection. The thing is, we live in a constant fractal. I love the idea of fractals. I remember the first time I saw a fractal in a science and art museum. I could see how the big image was replicated in smaller places. The big snowflake was replicated in smaller spaces. So that big thing that we see happening in the world, like these horrible people, these presidents, these CEOs, these people that are doing criminal acts, are a reflection of acts that take place close to us. Unfortunately, they also happen near. The same pattern, the same stuff happens in our closer circles as well, in a different scale, of course, but it happens. Like we all know somebody that has been, unfortunately, four, uh, 4 of every 5 women have suffered abuse. Of And that's an incredibly depressing statistic. 4 of every 5 women have suffered at some point in our lives some kind of sexual harassment of abuse or abuse. Um, so, in a scale, that's happening here too, to us and to our communities. If you think of 5 friends, or you are the fifth, there's 4 of them have gone through something, as not maybe as scary or not, but have gone through something intense. And it is important to see the big monster so that we can see and do something about the smaller ones that we have close to us, because they exist and they happen every day. So what we get to see, when we see things like the files or things like the genocide or the war, like what we get to see is how does it radicalize me to change the view and the world in my surroundings today, to heal the wounds around it today with me and with my surroundings? Because unfortunately, at least in my case, I know so many people that have gone through things like the things in the island. Maybe tune it down, maybe lower in a scale, but that's way too common. So that allows us to see the victims with more compassion, to see the perpetrators with more fiery, radicalized eyes, so that we don't let them keep getting away with what they used to do. And eventually that starts making a difference, making a change. Growing up, I saw that there was this artist called, actually like me, her name was Sasha, um, who was groomed by a man 3 times her age. That was her producer. That was her producer. She was a singer, and it was normalized that the 13-year-old girl was dating this 40-year-old man. Was normalized, and it was even seen like she was kind of slutty, and people would judge her, the girl, the teenager. Thanks to the radicalization of seeing abuse and calling it by its name now, she was finally able to call it out and to say, no, what happened to me was abuse. He groomed me. This is how things happen. And now, 40 years later, no, yeah, 30 years later, people are actually on her side because society has been changing its views so much because of this radicalization that now we see and say, no, wait, actually, she was groomed. Actually, that is wrong. Actually, men in their 40s grooming a girl in her teens, it's wrong. But 30 years ago, that was natural. That was okay. That's just the way men are. So we have changed because we have seen the elephant in the room and we have said, no, that's not okay. We are not taking it. That's not okay. And that's how we make a difference. We are changing our community. Now my daughter is not going to be groomed by a guy in his 30s, right? Like that is because we pay more attention to it because we don't normalize it anymore. So that's how we make a change. That's how we make a difference. So it's good to see the big fractal and then to turn it inwards and see how we have that going on around us as well.
Yeah, tying the two together is essential, though. I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as the black sheep of the family, this is your role to see the things nobody saw before you and build up the courage and the strength to actually be able to do something about it. Those are the people who are leading the change in what we are experiencing today. And I'm
Yeah.
so glad to connect with you and, feel your power and your energy and where you are. Because it's just
I'm so glad.
nice to build. This is basically the heart of my work, to build a community like us so we can bring the change, because we are so separated in a way, because there's not a lot of us locally to us. I think we are just so spread around that on the internet, yeah, you are connected, but to have the personal connections, once that network is created, that is what fundamentally the new world is going to be building on. And yeah, it was my pleasure to connect with you and find another link in this um, world. And I would love for you to share how people can find you and share about your work.
Thank you so much. And I love that you're doing this, that you are building these bridges, building this connection. And that's an important work. That is the work we need to be doing. We need community. In isolation, we fail, we fall. We need community, and yeah, that is necessary now more than ever. So thank you. Um, I work on right now. I am launching a program called Roots, in which we actually have these discussions, in which we actually work with I call it somatic decolonization. So we work on discussing the experiences that we have personally and with what's going on in the world, doing somatic practices around them, like breathing together, doing breathwork together, dancing them through, or just hearing one another and witnessing one another while where we are watching the world burning, literally. So how to create a space of connection in this moment. This is a program that's going to start mid-April. It's just a 3-month program, and I also do one-on-one coaching and I do tarot readings as well. So just looking forward for people who want to find some clarity in their journey or who want to go deeper on a coaching program or a program with me.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing you and your magic with us. So thank you so much for being here and listening. If this resonates, you can find out more about my work on sistersorcery.com, and see you next time.